right, we are back. Take 3.
Oh, nice.
We had a couple of technology issues, but same day, same setting. Our last time that we aired, this will probably air, we'll probably give it a little bit of space, space out. So we did our episode on Michael. So now we're going to be looking at another similar figure from the Old Testament. But Clay has been faithful to bring us energy drinks.
I try.
And if we'd had known that we're going to push this into 2 podcasts, he would have brought us another.
I would have brought another drink.
Yeah,
but I only brought one because I thought this was a one podcast.
Yeah,
this is
a one and done.
This is dose.
Yeah. So this is 2. So we are. I think Zach is still finishing up the Jolly Rancher. I switched over to just plain water here. But Zach, you had an adventure this weekend.
Yeah, went to the great outdoors. Camp. Tried to unlock my inner manliness. That did not go well, but I survived. Probably the worst part of the trip was I saw a snake. It's kind of boring. Who likes snakes anyway?
Yeah, so I did get a picture of that snake.
Nice.
And snakes, they can be a little bit deceptive because I looked at it and I was like, immediately it was like brown water snake. And then I was like, let me do a triple check because I'd hate for me to have misidentified this.
That would have ruined the camping trip.
And someone to grab it. So I was like, oh, yeah, it is a brown water snake. But pretty cool. I have not seen one in the wild, but I hear they're pretty chill.
It's pretty amazing. Like, you're missing out. You're missing out. I was actually a little bit scared because I thought it was poisonous. I mean, I don't know about snakes. I really didn't. I just don't know what to think. And I was like, man, if only a Royal Ranger were with me to save the day.
I mean, you need a Royal Ranger around when things like that happen.
We have a Royal Ranger on the podcast.
I back in the day, I was a Royal Ranger. I don't know how many of y'all remember that, but for a brief time of my childhood, I was a Royal Ranger, and we went camping one time. The highlight was...
Go ahead.
The highlight was whenever I was about 8 years old, I feel like. There was this thing that we could get called the cut and chop card.
Boom.
And
do you remember anything you had to do?
I don't remember. I feel like that there was something I had to do. Maybe like prove that I could whittle. I don't know.
Have you seen those obstacle courses where they have like different ropes and paper that you have to...
Oh, no.
Yes.
That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. That would have been really fun as an 8-year-old. But I just wanted to get it because my dad said I could not have a knife and carry a knife with me until I got this card proving that I was responsible.
Yeah. So do you know if that happened before or after you went camping? Like, did you get to take the knife on the camping trip?
I did. I'm pretty sure that was before the camping trip.
Sweet.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I was safe from snakes because I had my
your knife.
tiny Swiss Army knife with tweezers and a toothpick. Scissors. I think.
Wine bottle corkscrew. Did it have that on there?
It didn't have that. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No. It was the very small, skinny one, like the minimal, like 5 things or something like that. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool Royal Ranger. I was in Awana, which is not anything Royal Ranger related, but they make you like dress up in these uniforms that kind of look like Boy Scout uniforms. You know what I'm saying? Like you have like the little handkerchief thing, and you have like all the.
We had uniforms too.
Patches.
Oh yeah.
I was in Weeblos. You know what Weeblos is?
Watch your mouth. I don't know. Yeah.
It's the level before Boy Scouts. You're not old enough to be a Boy Scout.
Oh.
And Weeblos stands for we'll be loyal scouts. Like it's like we're looking forward to it. One year. We didn't have a lot of people in my small town to volunteer, so my dad volunteered to be our den scouting. Like he grew up in Flint, Michigan, in the middle of the city. Like scouting was not his thing, so this is a little bit of a stretch for him. And I was like, okay, one and done, we're good. I didn't feel like I learned a whole lot, other than we would go in our little hut and play and like read this Weeblo book, but we didn't really actually do any scouting.
Man, I'll have to check it out. I could have used some of those Royal Ranger skills. I'm gonna Google. I want to see can we get a picture of Clay in his Royal Ranger outfit to put on right here?
My mom might have one. I will ask.
We should. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome if I could get one. I will do my best because I swear it was like I feel like it was like a yellow like handkerchief.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. Like.
Did you guys have like a motto, like a song, like "We're Royal and we're the Rangers"?
Probably.
We're the Royal Rangers.
I don't know. I have a horrible memory of my childhood.
I don't. But be responsible. I bet there's like a cool little.
You had hair, probably.
I did.
In my mind, you've had a goatee and you're bald all the time, even as an 8-year-old.
I expect to see an 8-year-old with a little goatee and be bald.
That would be awesome. I had a nice thick head of hair. I don't know what happened.
Man, me too, bro.
I don't know what happened.
Man, well, this dovetails nicely with Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Just, right. Boy Scouts, Melchizedek.
Royal
Clay.
Rangers.
Royal priesthood. I don't know.
Royal priesthood, yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't think we can do any better than that. So, Clay, do it once again.
Let's take it to the next level.
From the heart of the Low Country in South Carolina.
It's the Take Two podcast, where we take theology to the next level. All right, Melchizedek, the king of Salem. So this, again, one of those characters like Michael, when we talked last, there's not a whole lot of scripture about him. Kind of shows up, goes away. So we have him, at the end of, the lot gets swept up in this army. These, I think, a handful of kings like come and conquer where Lot is living. Abraham and 9 other tribal leaders, from what I understand, this is my take on it, go and save him. They split the bounty. And then Abraham takes 1/10 of all that bounty, or 100% of all of his share. I think that's how it works out. And then gives that to Melchizedek, because he's like, I don't want to be, people say that Gentiles made me rich. And so that is one of our verses from that. So Genesis 14:18, this is just kind of in the middle of it. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High. And that was who Abraham was giving that tithe to. Any comments on that?
Melchizedek is such, I know we, coming off the heels of our last podcast we just recorded, Michael, not a lot of text devoted to him, but man, coming in hot every time. It's like, if you're only going to say like a couple of verses, couple of passages, Genesis, there's not a whole lot. It's weird that, we know King of Salem, emphasis for whatever reason, bread and wine. And then emphasis, not only is he a king, but he's a priest. It's like 3 things in a short amount of space. To me, it's like even more compelling a little bit. I think that Michael podcast is very compelling. This is more compelling because it's like everything's like, there's so much going on and not a lot of space.
Right. Yeah, and some people have made, so the question that we're going to be asking is the same question we asked about Michael the Archangel. And this one, I think people would be more familiar with. Like, most people have probably not considered Michael the Archangel as another title for God the Son. I mean, I grew up and people were talking about, well, is Melchizedek a theophany or a Christophany? And when I was younger, I thought for sure, yes, he was, just because it was cool. It was kind of weird. And then I was like, no, maybe it's not. And now I'm, I want to look at it afresh with new eyes and make a reasoned, rational decision. So, anything else about this initial passage? I'm trying to see if there's anything else that is said here.
I think it's unique that he brought out bread and wine. I think that, because I don't know how normal that was when it came to priestly, what they would do or thing, but I think that that's a cool, to me that just stands out, like bread and wine, like Jesus, had broke the bread and wine in the Last Supper. Like, I don't know, I just think that's a cool parallel there.
No, that is pretty cool. And we all know non-alcoholic wine. I have to make that clear, right? Straight grape juice.
No
Welch's finest. I think that, to me, that's it, because it's like, man, it's like king, priest, bread and wine. If you're only going to like touch on a couple things, that's what we're going to spend our text talking about. Crazy to me. Let's keep reading on in Psalm 110. It's like we haven't heard about Melchizedek like for a long time,
right?
And then all of a sudden we're going to interject. The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So reiterates priest, adds on this eternal aspect. Also, kind of weird if you're,
This is about 500 years, you think, between Abraham and the writing of the Psalms? Is that Abraham is around 14? Is that right?
Well,
do I have it right?
Let's do the. You probably are right.
No.
I'm not good with
Even further
timelines.
back.
I was always thinking like around 2000-ish.
Moses is 14.
1400, yeah. Exodus.
Abraham is like 1819. So this is 1,000 years, 900, 1,000 years later. Boop. We get inspired scripture to talk about Melchizedek again. And it's this little blip on the radar. But like you said,
Yeah.
interesting things that are said about him, and we have this kind of this eternal aspect to the order of Melchizedek. You're a priest after his order for forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And then Hebrews just comes in, just almost like doubling what the scriptures already said. So I don't know if one of y'all want to hit those.
Well, 5:6 says, as he says also in another place, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So what we just quoting that. And then a few verses later, 5:10 says, being designated by God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. And if you've read through Hebrews, they're trying to say, he's making the argument that Jesus can be a priest. He's not a Levitical priest. He doesn't fall in that line. He's not of the tribe of Levi. His priesthood is even further back. It extends to the order of Melchizedek, which was higher than Levi, because if Abraham gave tithes to Melchizedek, then you only give tithes to someone who's greater than you. And so since Levi was in the loins of Abraham, Melchizedek had to be greater than Levi because Melchizedek was greater than Abraham.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That a lot is just packed in there. And then you just read 5:10?
Yes.
Let's close it out. Last time we read about Melchizedek, verse 20 of chapter 6. It says, where Jesus has gone as a forerunner on our behalf, having become a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So hitting a lot of the same beats, priest, eternal. We see a lot of this kind of stuff. It's weird. It's short. It's sweet, but a lot is going on. So I think that helps set the stage. We at least have the texts from Scripture in mind as we kind of ask these different questions.
That's great. Anything to say before we get into the pros and cons?
I think the same way that just something that popped out to me was the bread and wine. I think that all the other verses, there's a lot of forever terminology, like never ending.
Yeah.
I think that that's hugely important. Like Jesus and God are never ending. Like his reign shall be never ending. His priesthood shall be never ending. So,
and I don't know if we get into this, but we should note that Clay has set foot on what supposedly, is the temple.
Not just me. You were there. You were there as well.
Can we say it together? Tesla brothers.
That was a unique part of our trip to Israel, though, is getting that private tour.
Yeah.
We had to walk through scaffolding, it was workers only, because I guess stuff has not been totally published and consensus not reached and that kind of thing. Because I think a lot of people know about it, but it's not like this public thing where they're gonna say, hey, this is Melchizedek's temple and this kind of thing. And it is very crazy being there. I don't know what I was gonna expect, but it's not what I would expect.
Where was it located in reference to the big Temple Mount?
You could see the Temple Mount.
It's like the city. It's like underneath the city of David, which is crazy. And there's a passage, you might recall this better because I'm just trying to recall it, where David is like, oh, there's a Abiathar priest, but then there's a priest of the line of the Jebusites or something, or the people before here. It's not dogmatic, but it's almost like these two different priests are operating where David doesn't get rid of this guy. Do you know what I'm saying?
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
I might look this up for later on in the podcast, but it's a weird question. Why is there this priest and why is there this other priest? And some people have totally hypothetical. Maybe there's a connection to Melchizedek there. I don't know.
Right, and that would probably leave Melchizedek as not a Christophany, if that is, because if he has sons, you would think that they're not. Then you would think he's human, and if that's the priesthood.
I will look this up. Maybe we'll come back to it on the back end here.
Yeah. All right, so just going through some of the arguments for and against. So we read through those verses, and then so we would say, man, we don't really have any genealogy, any past, present. He just shows up, no history to him, and then he's gone. Hebrews 7:3 states that he's without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end. That's. Let me just verify, because chat did not give me. These are notes that I helped to make with chat, but I don't want to make something that's speaking clearly about Jesus. Okay, so let me just read this, because was 7 in your. So let me just read this opening of Hebrews 7. It says, For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham as he was returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham apportioned a 10th part of all the spoils, was first of all, by the translation of his name, King of Righteousness, and then also King of Salem, which is King of Peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, he remains a priest perpetually. So that's pretty strong.
I don't know.
Right
that
there.
seems really clear. I don't know.
So yeah, so that is a pretty strong argument. He shows up. He doesn't have genealogy. We don't see, because lots of times we'll say, was the son of, was the son of, was the son of, or beget. But we don't get that with Melchizedek. Hebrews 7 says he doesn't have a father. He doesn't have a mother. Doesn't have a genealogy. Doesn't have beginning of days nor end of life. Now, I guess you could say, well, we're just saying that literarily he just shows up, you know. But,
that's right.
Yeah. And then if Jesus is ultimate high priest, Melchizedek's priesthood is superior to the Levitical priesthood. This could imply that Jesus was Melchizedek.
Yeah, I think that's good. And on these opposing arguments, I think this is a good point. Not that you have to, but man, it's like Hebrews is hitting how great Christ is a lot. Be nice if you, again, would be nice to be like BTW.
Yeah.
Christ is Melchizedek.
Right. That would be nice. But that it doesn't say that. And okay, so this Hebrews 7:3 may not be literal. This without, it could just be in the literary sense. Hebrews calls Melchizedek a man, so could not be a Christophany, right?
Right. It would imply at least it's not a divine being. I see that. Right. Yeah.
But Jesus was a man.
That's right. That's not a slam dunk. Yeah.
And if Melchizedek were Christ, the author of Hebrews would likely have stated it explicitly, which is what you were just asking for.
Yeah, exactly right. So I like that we're getting kind of both sides, kind of the pushback side of things. Yeah. Just to say, not that everything's like the greatest argument, but it's good to push back on there. This might remind you of the Michael podcast, but talking a little bit about titles, implications, names, that kind of thing. What does Melchizedek mean? Or what kind of phraseology or words would you associate with this guy?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Clay.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, well, we were just told he's the king of righteousness. He's the king of Salem, and Salem means peace. So you would think, those are.
It seems like pretty big. Like out of all the like attributes and modifiers, it's like those are pretty spot on.
Was Salem also like the pre-name of Israel, or
I think Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It was. I don't know what Jeru probably means something in Hebrew. I'm not.
Yeah, and I think that.
If you've been to Israel, you should know this. I'm just saying. I haven't been to Israel, so that's my I get out of.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. This is supposed to be the same spot. I don't know all the naming behind it.
Not to tie into our last podcast, but King of Israel, King of Kings, Prince of Israel, like those Christophany type figures and hints. I don't know. I think it kind of ties together.
Well, let's keep going with some of these king, prince titles in Isaiah 9. Everyone around Christmas time knows this one. Christ is called the Prince of Peace and embodies righteousness if you're pulling from prophecy in Jeremiah 23. Those align with Melchizedek's names. I don't know if I would be, okay, these verses have to support this, but I think we all would say righteousness and peace. That's a pretty big part to what Christ does. And if Salem refers to Jerusalem, which I think
means you will see. Literally translates you will see peace.
There you go. So that connection, you can see this kind of connection, this future king of Jerusalem. So that's on the affirming side. You guys want to hit the other side of things?
Oh, I think we should make Clay read the opposing argument since he's.
You have to say it out loud.
Are y'all picking on me?
Yeah.
Okay. Many biblical names are symbolic of Melchizedek, and could have been a righteous king without being divine.
That's right. Sure. There's a lot of names in there that mean like really good things that you could associate with Christ.
Yeah, like Michael.
That's right.
And we don't really get a direct claim to divinity from Genesis or Hebrews. But man, there's a lot said that it would make you go, inquiring minds want to know why these things were said about him.
Priest of God. Oh, go ahead, Clay.
Oh, I don't know if those are. I haven't seen any great arguments yet. I don't know.
You're not
swayed?
unconvinced?
I don't know. I mean, even the ones earlier about him being a man. I mean, Jesus became a man.
Oh yeah, I was saying that, and y'all took it. Oh yeah, I guess that's good. I was saying that because it's not a good argument the way I said it, because Jesus did become a man, and then when the angel of the Lord presented himself as a man, so those are. I don't think that's a great argument.
Well, let's keep talking titles. He's referred to in Genesis 14, priest of God Most High. If we're looking at the, trying to affirm this argument we're making, this is the very earliest mention of a priest in Scripture. And sometimes when you see things for the first time, there's a reason for that. Genesis 1 has a lot of big deal stuff in there that
right.
we see carried around a lot. So maybe there's a unique role here. We see in Hebrews 7, the priesthood is eternal, which should also raise your eyebrows a little bit more. So not just a human priest, but an eternal priest. Okay, I can see these connections.
Yeah, he has the title of king.
I was going to say priest. It was two things. He was
He
priest
has the
and
title of
king.
priest. We don't ever give him. We don't get the title of prophet. But man, that would be like
that would have been a trifecta.
So
that would be the perfect trinity. Almost.
Right. Yeah. So. But you have some other non-Israelite figures who worship the true God. So you have Job, you have Jethro. So it could be a non-Israelite who's worshiping the true God, some Canaanite or some other ite that's there and just happens to know the true God.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Maybe.
And then Chat says this, and I'm gonna. Because I was asking Chat to give me some arguments against. So maybe we should have someone better than Chat give us arguments in the future. But it says Christ's priesthood is compared to Melchizedek's, not equated with it. But I think it's of the order of Melchizedek. I think it's stronger than what Chat is wanting to give us there.
Man,
yeah,
I think you're right. Kind of jumping off of Hebrews 7, going back to this without father, without mother, reminds me of there's a Dr. Seuss book, Are You My Mother or something. We should have Melchizedek edition. Can't find one. Eternal. Let's redeem Dr. Seuss.
I don't know this Dr. Seuss book.
Maybe it's not.
That's not a popular Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah.
I don't like Dr. Seuss. Let's see if this is even a thing.
Yeah. Dr. Seuss uses real rhymes though, not slant rhymes. I mean,
ooh, this is not a Dr. Seuss book. Maybe it just looks like Dr. Seuss. It's
okay.
I'm gonna not that we need to get. It's Are You My Mother, and it's got a Dr. Seuss thing, but Dr. Seuss did not write it. But
I got you.
It's
a knockoff Dr. Seuss book.
Well, so probably the best kids book ever written. I know we're taking a short aside. King's Wish. I have 5 or 6 copies. It's old. They don't print it anymore, so I had to go buy it at resellers so I could give to my kids. But I think after Dr. Seuss wrote some, there was a company that produced other books that had the Dr. Seuss logo that they were printed by him, but they weren't written by
I
him.
got the scoop here. Not that anyone cares. On a different podcast, I'll be the first one to say it. I think Dr. Seuss is overrated. I came out. I'm not an apologist for Dr. Seuss, but Are You My Mother is written by P.D. Eastman. This is what it's saying. It's a timeless classic. That was published in 1960. So I guess at that point, Dr. Seuss was just supervising things. He was not he was just I'm a manager now. You write stuff and we'll stamp my little logo on it. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of books like that under his.
Yes, King's
umbrella.
Wish is one of those books.
Great business model. Just stamp your
Written
little.
by Benjamin Elkin, illustrated by someone Shortall. I only know that because I recorded it on YouTube. It's out there, so you can go find it.
Hey, there we go. Well. Going back without father, without mother, that lack of genealogy here, that's pretty strong in itself. That there's not this earthly origin, really can't find it. Talks about being a priest perpetually, something that continues forever. Suggests he's not a mortal man. And if he's made like the Son of God, this could suggest pre-incarnate Christ. And I think we've been we're hitting these things over and over again. We don't have a lot of text, but it's man, this is the kind of stuff that really makes you make these connections.
Right. And again, kind of on the other side, could be figurative language. we don't get genealogies for everyone. It's like we don't have a genealogy of Job. We don't really know where Job came from. So it's not like it's a slam dunk. So, but I wouldn't rest my case for Melchizedek on without father, without mother. But
wouldn't it be weird if it was like, hey, and this is Job. He's eternal and had no parents.
yeah, it is. That would be. So, anything to say without father, without mother, Clay?
I don't know. I mean, that just, like Zach's saying, there's nobody else really said anything like that about. I don't know. It seems really strong again. A good strong argument for in the W column.
Really quick, you a fan of Dr. Seuss? Where we stand?
I'm indifferent.
Part of me,
he was okay. I mean,
I'm glad to hear that because I think people give him overwhelming support. If you just make up words that rhyme, I'm just saying that's like a get out of jail free card. I'm just like, you gotta impress me with actual rhymes. Anyway, back to Melchizedek.
And I did remember. I just want to redeem myself. Leonard Shortall was the illustrator of King's
That's
Wish.
great. Someone was sitting there listening. Like, there's a Shortall. There's a lot of Shortalls. Which one was
They were
it?
typing in the comment section right now.
All right, so the relationship between Melchizedek and Christ's priesthood, it says a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So we read these verses, Psalm 110, Hebrews 7:11 through 28. Christ is pictured as the ultimate fulfillment of Melchizedek's priesthood. So the Levitical priesthood's going away. We're bringing this this not well known, just one verse back in, and it's Christ is the fulfillment of it. So that's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah, and let me know what you think about these opposing arguments, Clay. I don't think I'm convinced. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad arguments because it's not super. It's pretty explicit, but it's not like making that total connection for you. But it's saying, these authors never say Christ is Melchizedek, but rather a priest in the same manner. It's not totally there, but it's pretty much there. And then the other one is, it uses the term order of Melchizedek, implies multiple members, I guess.
Did you find that verse that seemed to have those two different lineages of priests going on that David allowed to
Yeah, let me just back
remain?
up. I'm in my Dr. Seuss. I found it and started Googling Dr. Seuss. But basically, two priests are there. Zadok is the one in question that maybe he was a Jebusite, maybe he wasn't. Some people try to connect like through Eli, like there's something there. But I think a good takeaway going to your points is that Zadok's line eventually ended in 171 BC. So if you're taking that view and you're following that,
right.
I don't know, anyway, but that there's a lot of question. It's Abiathar who was
this is
Levite.
the Zadok that helped dedicate the temple with Solomon?
Or
is it a different Zadok?
I do not know. I think it might be, but he served as a priest under David and Solomon, I'm reading.
Yeah.
He could be an Israelite or a Jebusite. Really, Abiathar, or the other one, definitely Levitical. This one, we just don't get the information. It's kind of weird that we don't. Makes it seem like a lot of people say maybe he was practicing and he did worship the one true God, even though he wasn't Israelite, somehow got grafted in a strange way. So it's literally a couple verses, but I think he's alluded to in First Circuit Samuel, then in Chronicles, or a little allusions, but we don't get a lot of information.
Yeah, and I mean, we're given some off-topic stuff, but there is a very nice classical piece called Zadok the Priest that was written to commemorate the dedication of the temple. So, God, if you're into that sort of thing, go look it up and listen to it. Unless you know.
Here's some things. This is just food for thought. There was the name Zadok is associated with Jebusite gods, I think, from archaeology, as Zedek. So maybe, I don't know. Some of that's kind of a stretch I'm reading on this thing, but it's an interesting thing where David appointed Abiathar to serve as priest for the Israelites, and it seems like Zadok was just kind of hey, you've been doing your thing, you're here. It doesn't say this, but a lot of people maybe it was for Gentiles who were hey, we want to worship Yahweh, but we're not going to adopt all the customs and these kind of things. I don't know. That's a lot of speculation.
Yeah, to have Zadok be the priest that dedicates the temple, that'd be huge if it was an uncircumcised Gentile,
I think that's maybe seems unlikely. Yeah. But if it happened to be awesome, but it would seem that would be
a stretch.
Crazy, yeah.
Okay. So the relationship between the priesthood, and did we already did? We already did this one. So worship and divine authority. The question is, did anyone ever worship Melchizedek?
Same thing, man. It would be great if there was one guy who was mid-worship, and I guess we would have Michael and Melchizedek there at the same time. But it's like, we got but that would be different problems.
Right. Now, Abraham does tithe.
That is interesting.
So it's not exactly worship because, they weren't worshiping the priest when they gave the tithe to the priest, but they were ultimately given the tithe to God, and the priests were the conduits. So, you can make the same argument about Melchizedek, but, so maybe Melchizedek had that, what we call Temple Zero there at Salem, and somehow this money that Abraham gave went to the priesthood that he was doing there. It's hard to say.
This might be a little aside, but going off topic for a second, that I think we've talked about before is that I feel like that one of my gut reactions when I started researching Melchizedek, and that makes me on the side that he is a Christophany, is that I think that it's almost like God giving Abraham a glimpse into the fulfillment of the ultimate promise. Like he promised Abraham that he would save the world through him, through his seed, and he gets to see almost Christ, at the end of his days. He gets to go converse with him. He gets to maybe talk with him about stuff. Like, hey, you're not going to live to see it, but you get to see it kind of thing.
I love that point. We talked about it a little bit differently on our Angel of the Lord episode, where it's like, it's pretty amazing that these Old Testament characters like interacted with the Angel of the Lord. Like that is something that I don't readily think about, but it's like you're saying, that just gives more substance or a fuller, more robust their understanding, where maybe they don't see everything, but it's like they saw a lot and they were interacting with God the Son in a lot of instances. It's pretty remarkable.
Going back to the Angel of the Lord thing, like Moses with the Angel of the Lord in the burning bush. Like, I guess growing up only having the visualization from the old movie, the old Ten Commandments movie, and just seeing a burning bush talking, but no, this was the Angel of the Lord in it. Like, I think it was more than what our mind can picture, that Moses was conversing with the Lord in physical form. I think it might be the same thing here. Maybe that's a lot of speculation, but I think, to me, my gut feeling whenever I started researching this was, like I said, like Abraham getting to see the promise of God fulfilled almost before he died. I don't know.
Wow. Like you said, Michael, the tithe, Christ is worthy of worship because it was Christ, then Abraham's tithe, could indicate a reverence. I think that's a good argument. On the other side, a tithe does not equal worship. It might just be honoring,
It's true.
So it's not explicit, but it's like, to me, the Michael connection, there's a lot of good evidence. This one, it's like machine gun good evidence, but it's still not conclusive. It's not totally conclusive either, even though I think I would heavily lean that way. So final conclusion, is Melchizedek a pre-incarnate Christ?
All right, so here's some of the strongest arguments from chat. Now, we may or may not agree with what chat has to say here, but this is what chat thinks they are. Describes Melchizedek as having no beginning or end, which could imply he's eternal. That was Hebrews 7:3.
I like that one.
He is a priest of God Most High without lineage, make him unique among biblical figures. He has these titles: King of Righteousness. I guess that is what Melchizedek translates to, just his name. But he also has the station of King of Peace because he's the King of Salem there, and those align with Christ's messianic titles.
There's a good, I can't remember how long it is or how many, but Dr. Michael Heiser did a podcast a long time ago, and he broke down the Hebrew name and exactly what it means. I wish I could remember. I could be butchering it. I think he says I think his interpretation of the Hebrew, or the breakdown of the etymology of the word, is my king is Sadek or something like that, which is my king is the Lord or my king is God, is how Melchizedek breaks down in the Hebrew. I could be butchering that. I think people could go look that podcast up, and it was 45 minutes where he just spent all that time breaking down the Hebrew of the word and what it means. So,
my quick lookup says it translates to my King of Righteousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not. I did not look it up, but I wanted to before we. I guess we're still in these arguments. Keep going on the arguments. I got something I want to add after that.
Oh, so those are all
We nailed them,
the
okay.
highest ones. So are there any other strong arguments for that you'd think chat left out? Other things that you would.
Well,
The bread and wine.
bread and wine.
I
That,
like
that
the
is
bread. I like the
fascinating.
bread and wine. That
Because
just seems like a weird thing to put in there too.
Another Old Testament figure. Is there any other place in the Old Testament where bread and wine are mentioned together? Not that I can think of.
Yeah,
It is. That's so fascinating that it's like that early in Scripture, and then obviously in the New Testament with the Lord's Supper and communion and that kind of thing. But it's like that's like so crazy that I think people don't think hard enough about or make that a big enough deal. Clay, I was going to ask you about this since we both were in Israel. You want to try to describe this Temple Zero a little bit? I pulled up a picture of it too. I was gonna like do it together. It's just so interesting.
yeah. I got a couple pictures we could send Michael. Maybe he could throw some of them up. But
Yeah.
there was the place where a tripod would stand to hold the sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
Remember that there was the grooves in the ground,
Yes.
where the tripod would sit. I feel like there was like 2 or 3 rooms he took us through and talked about what each one did.
There's there's several rooms. One, they had an oil press, which
Oh,
it wouldn't be like, hey, I have my own oil press. It's like, clearly made for rituals and that kind of thing. What was it? The high stone, the high place. It had a high place, or
Okay.
is that what the name of that little stone?
Maybe.
He's got a picture of it here too on this website.
That was the thing that was in the... Oh, not that. No. I don't remember that one.
It's like that little rock that he compared it to, like, I think Jacob. I don't know if it was a high place or something else he called it, but where it was not very big. It was like...
It was
I don't know.
It was a thing that was locked up in the cage.
Yeah, it was the thing that was... Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that was the altar stone
Altar stone.
something
okay.
like.
It's clearly like cultic, like it's a ritualistic kind of thing that you would do.
It was very specific.
Yeah.
Piece of the temple that was like made it clear. I got a pretty good picture of that I can send, but.
And they had like all these, like a clear place where you sacrifice the animal, like the channels or whatever. It was just pretty cool. Not super huge or anything.
It was definitely a temple.
But it was definitely with all these rooms and stuff, and like the way with the presses, like
Right.
it wasn't just like a house.
Right. Yep.
Interesting. But anyway, should check out the pictures. You should read some articles about it because it's just a fascinating thing. And again, it's like I can't even describe it to you. Like everyone knows Israel's just a bunch of tells that you just build on top of each other, and this is like literally underneath the city of David. It's like right where David was. It's like there. If you're doing the math or whatever, I don't know exactly how they do it, but it's clearly like centuries, and it's a long time before, and they just kind of built on top of it with his administrative buildings. Like it's like literally like if I'm like upstairs, like looking down to here, it's like that close. It's so weird, just the proximity.
Yeah.
Everything is like so close in the old city.
You could walk down the streets and there would be little grates that you could look down, like 10, 20 feet down, and there was more, or had been, built on top of.
Different podcast, but Clay and I should tell you about the time we went in someone's basement and saw like artifacts from like forever ago.
The hidden bookshelf. It was like
this is like in the middle of Jerusalem, underneath like I don't know like what street it was on, but it's like in the middle of things, man.
It was pretty intense.
I don't know if there's a picture of Clay trying on like an ancient Roman helmet from like
Donnie had that on.
Donnie. Anyway,
I got a picture of that.
All right, so while y'all were talking, it was a good discussion.
Yeah.
I was listening. It may not have appeared that way. I was getting the other references in the Old Testament where bread and wine are paired
nice.
together.
Yeah.
So we have this one from Melchizedek. We have 2 in Deuteronomy that don't say bread. They say grain and wine as different offerings that could be given in the sacrificial system prefiguring Christ. Another one in Leviticus, so some in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. Wisdom's table. You remember we talked about when we were talking about Old Testament wisdom literature that some people thought wisdom was this personification of Christ. Maybe because Proverbs 9:5 says, "Come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have mixed." And maybe an allusion to the Lord's Supper. And then the only other references are messianics, like Psalm 104. And this is, you can read Psalm 104, 14 through 15. I don't know why chat would say this is. I'll read you the verse. It says, He causes the grass to grow for cattle and vegetation for the labor of mankind, so that they may produce food from the earth and wine that brings the heart of mortal men cheerful, to make his face gleam with oil, and food that sustains his human heart. So we've had grain and wine.
Yeah.
We've had food and wine. The only other explicit mention of bread and wine was this Proverbs 9:5. So you have Proverbs 9:5, bread and wine, and you have Melchizedek setting out bread and wine. Those are the only other explicit, because the grain was just a grain offering. I don't think that they made bread out of it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty unique in Scripture. Maybe a pretty strong argument.
That is pretty cool. What else you guys got on Melchizedek?
Did we read his titles? Oh yeah, we read his titles. So here are the arguments against Clay. I should make you read all of these.
I'll do it. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll do it. Hebrews 7:3 says he was made like the Son of God, not that he is the Son of God.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, I guess that's some inference there, maybe. I don't know. The passage also compares Christ to Melchizedek rather than identifying them as the same person. Okay. And then lastly, Melchizedek is called a man, which suggests he was a historical figure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they're okay arguments. I don't know. I don't feel like anything's like, it's definitely not. But but again, we're speculating because there's nothing that says he definitely is either.
So if Melchizedek is a Christophany, how does that change your Christian walk tomorrow? Probably doesn't.
Probably doesn't. No.
And if it does, if he's not, probably doesn't. So these are not things that are going to make or break our walk, but they are interesting. And again, like we talked about in the Michael, it could help you maybe see a little more detail of what's going on.
Right. I was just going to reiterate that our Michael podcast, I think, ended with that statement. And again, I think it's the same thing with Melchizedek. If we get a little bit more detail, more depth to Christ, his connection to us, his connection to other people and customs, and I just think it makes it more rich, the story.
Yeah.
I think that's the good part of it.
Yeah.
Good.
Agreed on all accounts. I got nothing else on Melchizedek. I think I like it when you can get a handle on all the text. You can really feel like you're exploring everywhere that Scripture brings up Michael and Melchizedek. You feel like you're trying to get all the angles.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Zach and I have nothing else to say. Unless you have something else to say, I think you know how this has to end, Clay, right?
I think I know how this has to end.
All right.
That's our take.
Thanks for listening to Take Two. Find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube for those who want to watch our video cast.